Today, I'd like to share with you an extraordinary story that truly speaks to the enduring power of love. The journey of Clara Hayes and Marco Rossi. She, a spirited young artist from California. He, a passionate artisan from Florence, Italy. They found an all-consuming love in the heart of Tuscany, making a promise of forever under a vast, star-filled sky. But life, with its ambitions and the vastness of an ocean, pulled them apart for decades, leading them to build separate lives, raise families, and contribute significantly to their respective countries. For nearly half a century, their love became a cherished memory, a wistful fantasy. What happens when destiny, with its subtle, insistent hand, orchestrates an unexpected reunion in their golden years? Not in Florence, but across the world in San Francisco. This is a story about a poetic passion so profound, so overwhelming, that it defies time, distance, and cultural divides, reminding us that true love always finds its way back home, no matter how long the journey or how far the hearts have strayed. I invite you to subscribe to our channel and please, share in the comments where you're listening from today. I love knowing where our stories travel. The summer of 1972 in Florence, Italy, was a symphony of golden light, ancient stones, and the intoxicating scent of jasmine. For Clara Hayes, a spirited young artist from the sun-drenched coast of California, it was a revelation. She had arrived with a sketchbook full of dreams and a heart open to the world, seeking inspiration amidst the Renaissance masterpieces and the bustling piazzas. Florence, with its timeless beauty and vibrant energy, quickly captivated her. But it was a chance encounter in a small, sun-dappled artisan workshop that truly altered the course of her life. Marco Rossi was a craftsman, his hands skilled in the ancient art of leatherwork, his spirit as warm and inviting as the Tuscan sun. He was in his early 20s, with eyes the color of rich espresso and a smile that could disarm anyone. He moved with a quiet confidence, his passion for his craft evident in every meticulous stitch and polished surface. Clara, drawn by the intricate beauty of his work, found herself lingering in his shop, initially captivated by the artistry, then by the man himself. Their connection was immediate, a silent understanding that transcended the nascent language barrier. Clara, with her bright, inquisitive nature, found herself drawn to Marco's quiet intensity and the profound artistry of his hands. Marco, in turn, was captivated by Clara's vibrant spirit, her infectious laugh, and the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of art and dreams. What began as polite exchanges about leather goods soon deepened into shared glances, lingering smiles, and a profound curiosity about each other's worlds. Their love story unfolded against the breathtaking backdrop of Florence. They spent their days exploring hidden alleys, sharing simple meals in trattorias where the wine flowed freely, and watching the Arno River shimmer under the twilight sky. Marco introduced Clara to the secret corners of his city, to the warmth of Italian family life, to the simple joys of a culture steeped in history and passion. Clara, in turn, shared with him tales of California's endless beaches, of artistic freedom, and of a future brimming with possibilities. It was a love that was intense and poetic, a passion that consumed them entirely, defying the logic of distance and cultural differences. Marco's touch was tender, his gaze unwavering, conveying a depth of emotion that needed no words. Clara responded with an openness and a fierce devotion that surprised even herself. Their hearts beat in a rhythm that felt ancient and destined, a melody that resonated deep within their souls. They found solace and exhilaration in each other's presence, a sense of belonging that felt like coming home, even in a foreign land. Under the soft glow of a Florentine moon, with the scent of night-blooming jasmine heavy in the air, they confessed a love that felt as eternal as the city's ancient stones. Marco, his voice a low murmur, spoke of a future intertwined, of building a life together, of a love that would defy all odds. Clara, her heart swelling with an overwhelming passion, responded with a silent embrace, a gaze that promised unwavering devotion, a profound understanding that this connection, this feeling, was unlike anything she had ever known. It was an all-consuming fire, a passion that ignited every fiber of her being, a sense of absolute belonging that felt like the very essence of her existence. Their days became a blur of shared joy, each moment precious, each touch a reaffirmation of their profound connection. They spoke of learning each other's languages fluently, of bridging the cultural gaps, of finding a way to make their two worlds one. They were young, idealistic, and utterly convinced that their love, so vibrant and powerful, could conquer any obstacle. The promise they made to each other, under the vast, indifferent gaze of the Tuscan sky, was not a formal declaration, but a silent, deeply felt commitment. It was a promise of forever, of unwavering devotion, of a love that would find a way. But as the summer began to wane, and the crispness of autumn hinted at its approach, the practicalities of their separate lives began to cast long shadows over their shared dreams. Clara's visa was expiring, her return flight to California booked. Her family awaited her, her artistic career beckoned, and the life she had built across the ocean called her back. Marco, deeply rooted in his family and his craft, saw his future inextricably linked to Florence, to the traditions he cherished, to the workshop that was his legacy. The conversations grew strained, tinged with a sadness that neither of them knew how to articulate. The Florentine nights, once filled with joyful dreams, now carried the weight of impending separation, the quiet dread of a future that seemed to be pulling them in different directions. Not just for a few months, but for a lifetime. They tried to find a way, to bridge the growing chasm between their paths, but the vastness of the Atlantic, the cultural differences, and the expectations of their families felt insurmountable to their young hearts. The night before Clara was to leave, they returned to a quiet spot overlooking the city, the same place where they had first confessed their love. The moon was full, casting a silvery glow over the ancient rooftops, but its light seemed to mock the ache in their hearts. There were no grand pronouncements, no dramatic farewells, just the quiet understanding of two souls facing an impossible choice, a forced divergence. Marco held Clara close, his embrace a desperate attempt to memorize her scent, her warmth, the feel of her against him. Clara buried her face in his shoulder, tears silently tracing paths down her cheeks, each drop a testament to the profound love and profound sorrow that consumed her. They spoke of their promise, the one made under the Tuscan sky, the one about forever. Marco whispered that he would never forget her, that she would always be his American star. Clara, her voice thick with emotion, vowed that no matter where life took them, a part of her heart would always belong to him, a piece of it forever etched into the stones of Florence. It was a bittersweet reaffirmation, a desperate clinging to a love that felt like it was slipping through their fingers, not for a few years, but potentially for a lifetime. As the first rays of dawn began to paint the Florentine sky with hues of rose and gold, they walked back to Clara's small apartment, their hands clasped tightly, their footsteps heavy with the weight of unspoken goodbyes. The air was cool, carrying the scent of dew and fading jasmine. At her doorstep, they shared a final lingering kiss, a kiss filled with all the passion of their youth, all the pain of their parting, and all the desperate hope that somehow, someday, decades later, destiny would indeed find a way to bring them back together. Clara watched Marco walk away, his silhouette growing smaller against the rising sun, and a part of her felt like it was being torn away. She carried his memory, his touch, his promise, like a precious, fragile thing tucked deep within her heart. As she packed her bags for California, leaving behind the timeless beauty of Florence and the man who held her soul, she held on to the belief that their love was a story that refused to fade, merely paused, waiting for destiny to resume its intricate narrative. The intensity of her love for him, though now tinged with the ache of separation, remained an unyielding force, a constant burning ember in the depths of her being. The golden light of California welcomed Clara back, a stark contrast to the ancient, sun-drenched stones of Florence. She plunged into her artistic career, channeling the raw emotion of her separation from Marco into her work. Her paintings, once bright and carefree, now held a deeper melancholy, a profound longing that resonated with viewers. The vastness of the Pacific Ocean, which had once symbolized freedom, now felt like an insurmountable barrier, a constant reminder of the distance between her and the man she had left behind. Her studio in a bustling Californian city became her sanctuary, a space where she could express the complexities of her heart. The scent of turpentine replaced the jasmine of Florence, the hum of city traffic, the gentle murmur of Italian conversations. She made new friends, fellow artists and free spirits who understood her passion and her quiet intensity. She explored the vibrant art scene, building a new life, a new identity, far from the young woman who had promised forever under a Tuscan sky. Communication with Marco, initially a lifeline across the ocean, slowly began to wane. The time difference, the demands of their burgeoning careers, the sheer distance, all conspired to stretch the threads of their connection thinner and thinner. Their letters became less frequent, their calls shorter, the shared intimacy of their youth replaced by polite updates on their separate lives. Clara found herself clinging to the memories, to the echoes of his laughter, to the phantom touch of his hand. But even those began to feel distant, softened by the relentless march of time and the vibrant newness of her surroundings. The promise, once a burning star, became a cherished, wistful memory, a quiet ache in the deepest chambers of her heart. Marco, in Florence, was equally immersed in his world. His leather workshop, a legacy passed down through generations, consumed him. He poured his heart and soul into his craft, each piece a testament to his dedication and artistry. The narrow, cobbled streets of Florence, once the backdrop for his blossoming love, now held a bittersweet echo of Clara's presence. He sent her small, exquisitely crafted leather gifts, each one a silent message of enduring affection. Letters filled with updates on his family, his work, and the timeless beauty of his city. She imagined him in his workshop, his skilled hands shaping leather, his spirit alive with purpose, thriving in a world that was uniquely his. As the decades unfolded, Clara's artistic career flourished. She became a renowned painter, her work celebrated for its emotional depth and evocative landscapes. Her art graced galleries across the country, her name synonymous with a unique blend of Californian light and European soul. She married a kind, supportive man, a fellow artist who understood her creative spirit and her need for expression. Their marriage was one of mutual respect and companionship, a comfortable partnership that brought her joy and stability. They raised 2 wonderful children who grew into independent, successful adults, filling her life with a different kind of love, a profound maternal bond. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the Californian sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues, a subtle longing would surface, a whisper of a first love, a passion that had set an unreachable standard. She heard snippets of news about Marco through rare, indirect channels. He had expanded his workshop, his leather goods gaining international recognition for their quality and artistry. He had married too, a partnership born of shared cultural values and a mutual respect for tradition. He had children as well, who eventually joined him in the family business, ensuring its legacy. His marriage, like hers, had been one of companionship and shared purpose, but it too had eventually, gently, dissolved in their later years, leaving him with a deep appreciation for the journey they had shared. Clara felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name. Not jealousy, but a profound sense of what might have been, a quiet acknowledgement of the parallel paths they had chosen, the rich, full lives they had built separately. The intensity of her first love, though now a distant memory, had left an indelible mark on her heart. It had set a standard, a benchmark for passion and connection that no subsequent relationship had ever quite met. She had learned to live with its echo, to appreciate the quiet contentment of her life, to find joy in her work, her family, and her friendships. But the memory of that all-consuming fire, that feeling of being utterly, gloriously alive in Marco's presence, remained a constant, subtle undercurrent in her emotional landscape, a secret garden within her soul, guarded by the vastness of an ocean. Time continued its relentless march. Clara, now in her late 60s, had retired from her illustrious artistic career, embracing a new chapter of life filled with grandchildren, travel, and the freedom to paint purely for pleasure. Her children were grown, her grandchildren a source of immense joy, and her life was full, yet a quiet sense of reflection often accompanied her. She looked back on her life with gratitude, but the ghost of a question lingered. What if? Marco, too, was in his early 70s, a revered figure in the artisan community, now enjoying a well-deserved retirement, though his hands still found comfort in the feel of fine leather. He spent his days mentoring young apprentices, writing about his craft, and indulging his passion for exploring the Tuscan countryside. He often thought of Clara, of the vibrant American artist, wondering about the life she had built, the woman she had become. The promise they had made, though decades old, still resonated within him, a testament to a love that had defied the passage of time and the separation of continents. One particularly quiet Californian evening, as the sun dipped below the Pacific horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues, Clara found herself confined to her studio, a gentle rain falling outside. She spent the hours sketching, writing, and, inevitably, drifting back to memories of Florence, of sun-drenched days with Marco, of the warmth of his hand in hers as they navigated the cobbled streets. The nostalgia was potent, a bittersweet ache that filled her sunlit studio. She found herself reaching for an old wooden box, a relic from her Florentine days. Inside, nestled among faded postcards and pressed flowers, was a small, intricately crafted leather bookmark, a gift from Marco, decades ago. She traced its delicate patterns, her fingers, now slightly wrinkled with age, remembering the feel of his hands. The memory of their promise, the vow of forever, resurfaced with a clarity that took her breath away. A wave of profound emotion washed over her. Not just sadness for what was lost, but a fierce, undeniable longing for that intensity, that absolute certainty of connection. She realized then that no matter how many decades had passed, no matter how many oceans had separated them, a part of her heart had always, irrevocably, belonged to Marco. The rain eventually subsided, bringing with it the fresh scent of damp earth and the gentle glow of the moon. But the quiet introspection of the evening had left an indelible mark. Clara understood that while she had built a fulfilling life, a part of her soul had remained dormant, waiting for a spark that only Marco had ever ignited. She didn't know if they would ever meet again, if destiny would ever truly find a way to reunite them across the vastness of the world. But she knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within her, that the love they had shared was not just a memory, but a living, breathing force, a story that refused to fade, still waiting for its next chapter. She looked out her window at the moonlit Californian landscape, the distant city lights twinkling like scattered jewels, and a quiet resolve settled within her. She would continue to live her life fully, to embrace its richness and its challenges. But she would also carry the hope, a fragile, precious thing, that perhaps, just perhaps, the universe had one more twist in store for her. One more alignment of fate that would bring her back to the man who held the other half of her heart. The man whose love had been, and still was, an all-consuming, overwhelming passion. Decades had woven their intricate patterns through the lives of Clara and Marco, transforming them from hopeful young lovers into individuals rich with experience, wisdom, and the gentle marks of time. Clara, now in her late 60s, carried the grace of a life well lived, her silver hair framing a face etched with stories, her eyes holding the depth of countless canvases she had painted and emotions she had explored. Marco, in his early 70s, exuded the quiet authority of a man whose hands had shaped beauty from raw materials, his distinguished silver hair and kind, espresso-colored eyes reflecting a lifetime of dedication to his craft and his culture. Both had built fulfilling lives, raised families, and contributed significantly to their respective fields, yet the ember of their first love, though dormant, still glowed within them, a constant, subtle reminder of a passion that had once consumed them entirely. The idea of a reunion, once a desperate hope in their youth, had long since faded into the realm of wistful fantasy. Their lives had diverged so completely, their worlds so distinct, one bathed in Californian sun, the other steeped in Tuscan history, that the thought of their paths crossing again seemed almost impossible, a romantic notion best left to the pages of the novels Clara now read in her retirement. Destiny, it seemed, had found its way by allowing them to forge individual destinies, to become the remarkable individuals they were, each carrying the ghost of a shared past across an ocean. Then, one crisp autumn afternoon, nearly 50 years after their tearful farewell in Florence, destiny with its subtle, insistent hand intervened. Clara was attending a prestigious international art exhibition in San Francisco, an event she usually found stimulating, but felt a particular pull towards, as it featured a special collection of Italian artisan works. The grand hall of the museum was abuzz with conversation, a glittering sea of art enthusiasts and cultural connoisseurs. She was navigating the crowd, admiring a display of exquisite leather goods, when a familiar voice, deeper now, richer, but undeniably his, cut through the din. She turned, her heart giving a sudden violent lurch in her chest, a sensation so powerful it stole her breath. Standing across the room, engaged in conversation with a group of fellow artisans and curators, was Marco. He was older, of course, his silver hair a testament to the passage of time. But his eyes, those striking espresso-colored eyes, still held the same intelligent sparkle, the same depth she remembered from their youth. He was even more distinguished, more confident, his presence commanding a quiet respect. He wore a tailored Italian suit that fit him with an effortless elegance, a stark contrast to the casual clothes of their youth. Yet he still exuded the same magnetic charm, now softened by the wisdom of age. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and in that instant, the decades melted away. The noise of the exhibition faded, the glittering crowd became a blur, and it was just them, two souls recognizing each other across a chasm of time, continents, and experience. A wave of profound emotion washed over Clara, a mix of shock, disbelief, and an overwhelming surge of recognition, a feeling of coming home that resonated deep within her bones. The ember of her first love, dormant for so long, suddenly burst into a roaring flame, an all-consuming fire that threatened to overwhelm her, even in her golden years. Marco, too, felt the jolt. His conversation faltered, his gaze locking onto hers. A look of stunned recognition, then a slow, incredulous smile spreading across his face. He excused himself from his group, his eyes never leaving hers, and began to navigate the crowded room, a man on a mission. Clara stood rooted to the spot, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs, a mix of exhilarating anticipation and terrifying vulnerability, a feeling she hadn't experienced with such intensity in half a century. When he finally reached her, standing just inches away, the air between them crackled with an unspoken energy. There were no awkward greetings, no hesitant small talk, just a shared gaze that spoke volumes, a silent acknowledgement of the history, the longing, the undeniable connection that still hummed between them. Marco reached out, his hand, now slightly veined with age, and bearing the marks of a lifetime of craftsmanship, gently cupping her cheek, his touch sending a jolt of electricity through Clara, a sensation that was both achingly familiar and profoundly new, awakening nerve endings that had been dormant for decades. He spoke her name, a soft, almost reverent whisper, and the sound of it, after so many years, brought tears to Clara's eyes. She reached for his hand, her fingers, now bearing the gentle marks of time, intertwining with his. A gesture that felt as natural and as right as breathing. They stood there for what felt like an eternity, lost in each other's presence, the bustling exhibition fading into an irrelevant backdrop. The intensity of their connection was palpable, a force that drew curious glances from those around them, but neither of them noticed. They found a quiet corner, away from the main throng, and talked for hours. They spoke of their separate lives, of the paths they had taken, of the triumphs and challenges that had shaped them. Marco spoke of the enduring beauty of Florence, of his family, of the satisfaction of his craft, and the wisdom gleaned from a life lived fully. Clara spoke of the vastness of California, of her artistic journey, of her children and grandchildren, and the profound joy she found in creation. They discovered that while their lives had diverged, their core values, their passions, their fundamental understanding of the world remained remarkably aligned. The conversation flowed with an ease that defied the decades of separation, a comfortable intimacy that felt like picking up a beloved book exactly where they had left off. There was no need for explanations, no need for apologies for the past. Just a shared understanding that life had simply taken its course, leading them on individual journeys that had, against all odds, brought them back to this moment, to each other, in the autumn of their lives. As the exhibition began to wind down, and the first hints of twilight began to paint the San Francisco sky, Marco walked Clara back to her hotel. The city streets were quieter now, the air crisp with the promise of a new day. At her doorstep, they paused, the unspoken question of what came next hanging delicately between them. Marco looked at her, his espresso eyes holding a depth of emotion that made her heart ache with a sweet, profound joy. He didn't need to speak. His gaze, his touch, the quiet intensity of his presence conveyed everything. He was asking for a second chance, for a future that had once seemed lost, now rediscovered in their golden years. Clara, looking at the man who had been her first love, her guiding star, the one whose memory had remained a constant ember in her heart for half a century, felt a surge of courage she hadn't known she possessed. The fear of the unknown, the hesitation of a life long lived independently, was overshadowed by a far more powerful emotion. A love so intense, so consuming, so utterly breathtaking, that it dwarfed every doubt, every past regret. She reached for his hand, her fingers intertwining with his, and in that simple gesture, she made a new promise. A silent vow whispered not into the emptiness of a Florentine night, but into the vibrant, living presence of the man she loved, under the vast, indifferent gaze of the Californian sky. She invited him in, and as the door closed behind them, shutting out the nascent city evening, Clara knew, with a certainty that resonated deep within her, that their love story, indeed, was one that refused to fade. It had merely taken a long, winding path, a journey through separate lives, through decades of growth and experience across continents, to bring them back to this moment, to this profound, overwhelming passion that felt like destiny's embrace, a glorious culmination in their golden years. The years of separation had not diminished their connection. They had, in fact, deepened it, allowing them to grow into individuals capable of appreciating the true rarity and intensity of the love that had always been meant to be theirs. The night Marco walked into Clara's hotel room in San Francisco, it was as if the universe, after decades of subtle nudges and winding paths across an ocean, had finally exhaled. The silence of her temporary space, once a testament to her independent life, was now filled with the vibrant hum of two souls reconnecting, of a love story resuming its rightful course in the autumn of their lives. The years of separation had not diminished their connection. They had, in fact, deepened it, imbuing their reunion with a profound appreciation for the rarity of what they had found, and found again, in their golden years. Their rekindled romance was not a hesitant, cautious affair, but an immediate, all-consuming blaze. The passion that had ignited their youth, now tempered by a lifetime of experience and wisdom, burned with an even fiercer intensity. Their bodies, no longer young and unblemished, moved together with a profound understanding, a language of touch that spoke of decades of longing, of rediscovered desire, of a love that saw past the superficial to the very essence of each other's souls. Clara found herself marveling at the depth of her own capacity for passion, a fire she had thought had peaked in her youth, now blazing brighter than ever, fueled by Marco's unwavering devotion and her own courageous surrender to a love she had believed was lost to time and distance. They spent weeks lost in each other, first in California, then in Italy, rediscovering the nuances of their personalities, the subtle shifts time had wrought, and the enduring core of who they were to each other. They walked the sun-drenched streets of California, their hands clasped, their steps in perfect synchronicity, finding quiet moments by the Pacific, intimate dinners in seaside restaurants, and long, whispered conversations in Clara's studio as the golden light streamed in. Then, they journeyed to Florence, where Marco reintroduced Clara to the city that had once held their first love, now seen through the eyes of age and renewed affection. They explored hidden alleys, shared simple meals in familiar trattorias, and watched the Arno River shimmer under the twilight sky, each moment a precious echo of their youth, now enriched by the wisdom of their years. Marco, with his deep connection to the ancient traditions of Italy, brought a new perspective to Clara's Californian existence. He showed her the quiet beauty of old-world craftsmanship, the intricate history woven into every stone of Florence, the profound joy of a life lived with passion and purpose. Clara, in turn, opened his eyes to the vastness of the American landscape, the boundless possibilities of artistic expression, the vibrant pulse of a culture that embraced innovation. Their lives, once so divergent across continents, now intertwined with a natural ease that felt like destiny's design, a harmonious blend of their distinct worlds. Their children, now adults with families of their own, were initially surprised by the sudden, intense reunion of their parents with their long-lost first loves. But they quickly embraced their happiness, witnessing the radiant glow in Clara's eyes, the quiet contentment in Marco's smile. They understood that some connections were simply meant to be, transcending generations, cultural differences, and the expectations of a conventional life. Even their grandchildren, with their innocent curiosity, delighted in the romantic tale of their grandparents' enduring love, a real-life fairy tale unfolding before their eyes, a bridge between two countries. The promise they had made under the Tuscan sky in their youth, the vow of forever, now felt not like a distant memory, but a prophecy gloriously fulfilled. It had taken a long, winding path, a journey through separate lives and unforeseen challenges spanning half a century and an entire ocean. But destiny, with its subtle, insistent hand, had indeed found a way to bring them back together. They realized that the decades apart had not been a waste, but a necessary period of growth, allowing them to become the individuals capable of truly appreciating the profound, overwhelming passion that had always been their birthright, now rediscovered in the wisdom of their later years. They decided to divide their time between California and Florence, creating a beautiful rhythm of transatlantic living. Summers were spent in Italy, amidst Marco's family and the timeless beauty of Tuscany, where Clara found new inspiration for her art in the ancient landscapes. Winters brought them to California, where Clara's children and grandchildren welcomed them, and Marco discovered a new appreciation for the vastness of the Pacific. Each home became a cherished part of their shared story, a testament to a love that knew no borders. They returned to their old spot overlooking Florence one summer, years after their reunion, to celebrate their renewed vows. The moon was full, casting a silvery glow over the ancient rooftops, just as it had on that fateful night of their farewell. They stood hand in hand, their fingers, now marked by age, intertwined, and in that simple, familiar gesture, they reaffirmed their love, not with words, but with the quiet certainty of two souls irrevocably bound, their journey a testament to the universe's grand design. Their love was a constant source of wonder, a daily reminder that some stories are indeed written in the stars. It was a love that was fiercely passionate, yet deeply comforting, a fire that burned brightly, yet offered a profound sense of peace. They had learned that destiny doesn't always follow a straight line, that it often weaves its intricate patterns through detours and challenges, testing the strength of a connection, only to reveal its true resilience and timeless beauty. Clara, once a young woman who believed her love story was paused, now knew it had simply been waiting for the perfect alignment of the constellations, for the wisdom of age to fully appreciate its depth. Marco, who had always believed in the vastness of the world, now understood that the most profound mystery of all was the enduring power of a love that defied time, distance, and cultural divides, blossoming anew in the twilight of their lives. Lying in Marco's arms at night, whether under the Californian moon or the Florentine stars, Clara often thought of their promise under the Tuscan sky. It had been a promise of forever, made by two idealistic young lovers. But it had been a promise that destiny, with its gentle hand and its profound wisdom, had indeed honored. She had believed their love story was one that refused to fade, and now, looking at Marco, feeling the steady beat of his heart against hers, she knew it was true. Two hearts, one lifetime. Destiny had always found a way. It had led them apart, allowed them to grow, and then, with an undeniable grace, had brought them back together, proving that some loves are simply meant to be. An overwhelming and poetic passion that transcends all obstacles, a timeless melody played out across the vastness of the universe, culminating in the most beautiful chapter of their lives. I'd Clara and Marco's incredible journey touch your heart. This beautiful story reminds us that some love stories are truly written in the stars, destined to unfold across time, distance, and even continents. It teaches us that even when life pulls us apart for decades, a profound connection can endure, waiting patiently for destiny to weave its intricate patterns and bring us back together in our golden years. Clara and Marco's story is a testament to the enduring power of first love, the wisdom gained through separate journeys, and the breathtaking intensity of a passion that, once rekindled in the autumn of life, proves that true love truly refuses to fade. If this story stirred hope in you, a belief that your own destiny might hold such a profound connection, please leave a like and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications for more stories about love that defies expectations and proves that the best chapters of our lives might still be unwritten, even in our later years. Thank you for being part of this community.